Have you ever wondered about the eternal destiny of your beloved pets or the role of animals in God's grand design? For many, losing a pet feels like losing a piece of their heart, leading to deep questions about life after death and the fate of animals in eternity. While the Bible doesn't provide all the answers, it offers glimpses of hope and restoration that touch every part of creation. From prophetic visions of peace among animals to God's covenant with all living beings, the Scriptures invite us to explore the mysteries of the new creation. Let's journey through these profound biblical insights and discover how they reveal God's love for every part of His creation, including our furry companions. If this resonates with you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more thought-provoking insights and biblical truths. Join us on this journey of discovery. Pets and their destiny after death. The bond between humans and their pets often transcends mere companionship, becoming a deep emotional connection. Losing a pet can bring profound grief, prompting questions about their ultimate fate. While the Bible does not explicitly confirm the presence of pets in heaven, it provides glimpses of God's care for all His creation. Psalm 36 verse 6. This encourages many to hope that animals, as part of His divine design, may have a place in eternity. Throughout Scripture, animals are shown as integral to God's creative plan. In Genesis 1 verse 25, God declares His creations good, including the animals. This affirmation of their inherent value suggests they are more than just earthly companions. Their inclusion in God's declaration of goodness implies that they may also be part of His eternal restoration. The grief humans feel when they lose a pet may echo God's own care for all living beings, further hinting at their significance in His grand design. Some theologians argue that animals, lacking the image of God and a soul, cannot experience eternal life. However, others point to the Bible's portrayal of a renewed creation where harmony is restored, Isaiah 11 verse 6. Here, predators and prey live in peace, hinting at a future where animals coexist in a glorified state. While this does not confirm the presence of individual pets, it reassures us of their place in God's plan. The idea of heaven as a place of perfect joy leads some to believe that God could reunite us with our beloved pets. Revelation 21 verse 4 states that all tears will be wiped away in heaven, and nothing will cause sorrow. If pets are a source of joy, it seems possible that God could include them in His vision of eternal happiness. This perspective aligns with the broader understanding of God's desire to bring wholeness to His creation. Cultural and historical views also shape Christian beliefs about animals' afterlife. John Wesley, founder of Methodism, held that animals would be part of God's eternal kingdom. He believed that redemption would extend to all creation, reflecting Romans 8 verses 19 to 21, where Paul describes creation's longing for liberation. This viewpoint has inspired hope that pets may be included in the freedom of the glory of the children of God. Personal experiences often reinforce these hopes. Stories abound of individuals feeling a spiritual connection to their departed pets, sensing their presence, or dreaming of them in peaceful, heavenly settings. While these are not theological proofs, they offer comfort and align with the broader biblical narrative of a loving and restorative God. Modern theologians also explore the role of animals in God's ultimate plan. C.S. Lewis suggested that animals, through their connection to humans, might be drawn into heaven by association. His reflections in The Problem of Pain suggest that the love and care we show animals could play a part in their inclusion in eternity. This view underscores the responsibility humans bear in reflecting God's love to all creation. The mystery of whether pets go to heaven ultimately rests in God's hands. While Scripture offers no definitive answer, it repeatedly emphasizes God's goodness and justice. If reuniting with pets serves His purpose of complete joy and restoration, we can trust that He will fulfill it. Meanwhile, our care for animals during their earthly lives becomes a testimony to our faith and gratitude for His creation. This topic invites Christians to reflect on their role as stewards of God's creatures. While we may not know their exact destiny, we are called to treat them with compassion and dignity. Proverbs 12 verse 10 reminds us, "The righteous care for the needs of their animals," a principle that mirrors God's care for all living beings. Lastly, pondering the destiny of pets leads us to trust in God's perfect wisdom and love. While we long for answers, we are reminded to focus on His promise of a new creation where everything will be made new, Revelation 21 verse 5. This hope extends beyond our understanding, drawing us into deeper faith and anticipation of His eternal kingdom. The creation of animals and human responsibility. From the very beginning, the Bible establishes the intrinsic value of animals in God's creation. On the fifth and sixth days, God formed creatures of the sea, sky, and land, declaring them good. Genesis 1 verses 21 and 25. This divine affirmation underscores the purpose and dignity bestowed upon all animals. Humans, created in God's image, were given a unique role as stewards, tasked to care for and protect these living beings. This responsibility reflects God's own care for his creation. Adam's first task in the Garden of Eden was to name the animals, Genesis 2 verses 19 to 20, symbolizing authority and relationship. By naming them, Adam acknowledged their individuality and value. This act was not one of domination but of relational stewardship, aligning with God's command to rule over them responsibly, Genesis 1 verse 28. It was a divine partnership, calling humanity to mirror God's nurturing heart toward all living things. Throughout Scripture, animals are depicted as participants in God's redemptive plan. The story of Noah's Ark, Genesis 6 to 9, vividly illustrates God's desire to preserve animal life during the flood. This narrative highlights that God values animals not only for their utility but also as integral parts of his creation. Humanity's role in safeguarding animals in this account sets a precedent for responsible stewardship. The Psalms often celebrate the interconnectedness of all creation. Psalm 104 is a poetic reflection on God's provision for both humans and animals, portraying him as a loving sustainer. Verse 14 states that God provides grass for cattle and plants for people, emphasizing a harmonious relationship. Such passages encourage believers to view animals as recipients of God's care, deserving of kindness and respect. However, the human-animal relationship has been marred by sin, introducing exploitation and harm. The fall in Genesis 3 disrupted the original harmony, leading to broken relationships between humans, animals, and the environment. This fracture underscores the need for redemption not just of humanity but of all creation. Romans 8 verses 19 to 21 speaks of creation groaning for liberation, a hope that includes the restoration of the human-animal bond. In the Mosaic Law, God provided clear guidelines for the ethical treatment of animals. For example, Deuteronomy 25 verse 4 commands, "Do not muzzle an ox while it is treading out the grain," ensuring fair treatment of working animals. These laws reflect God's concern for justice and compassion, extending beyond humanity to the rest of creation. They serve as a model for ethical care today. Jesus himself acknowledged the value of animals during his ministry. In Matthew 10 verse 29, he pointed out that not even a sparrow falls to the ground outside the Father's care. This statement reveals God's intimate knowledge and concern for even the smallest creatures. It challenges believers to adopt a perspective that sees all life as precious in God's eyes. Modern discussions on environmental ethics often draw inspiration from biblical stewardship principles. Christians are increasingly called to address issues such as habitat destruction, animal cruelty, and climate change. By embracing these responsibilities, believers can reflect God's love for his creation and fulfill their role as caretakers. Acts of stewardship become acts of worship, honoring God through the protection of his creatures. The interdependence of humanity and animals also serves as a reminder of our shared dependence on God. Proverbs 27 verse 23 advises, "Be sure you know the condition of your flocks," linking human well-being to the care of animals. This principle applies broadly, encouraging vigilance and compassion in all aspects of creation care. Finally, the responsibility toward animals invites believers to reflect on their broader relationship with God. By treating animals with kindness and respect, we embody the character of a loving Creator. As we anticipate the full restoration of creation, our stewardship today becomes a testament to our hope in God's eternal kingdom, where harmony will be fully restored. Biblical passages about animals in heaven. The Bible offers glimpses of a future where animals play a role in God's restored creation. Isaiah 11 verse 6 provides a vivid image of peace. The wolf will live with the lamb, the leopard will lie down with the goat. This prophecy not only symbolizes harmony but also suggests the presence of animals in the renewed heavens and earth. It reflects a world where God's perfect peace reigns, and creation is restored to its intended state. Similarly, Isaiah 65 verse 25 reiterates this vision, stating, "The wolf and the lamb will feed together, and the lion will eat straw like the ox." This imagery describes a future without violence or suffering, where even the natural instincts of animals are transformed. These passages inspire hope that animals, integral to God's creation, will be present in the eternal kingdom, contributing to its harmony and beauty. Revelation 5 verse 13 expands this vision, describing a heavenly chorus that includes every creature in heaven and on earth and under the earth and on the sea. This universal worship suggests that animals, as part of creation, have a role in glorifying God. Their presence in this scene of worship underscores their value in the divine plan and hints at their inclusion in eternity. These descriptions align with God's covenantal care for all living things. In Genesis 9 verses 9 to 10, after the flood, God establishes a covenant not only with Noah and his descendants but also with every living creature. This demonstrates that animals are not incidental to God's purposes but are recipients of his promises. The continuity of this covenant could extend into the new creation, affirming their place in God's eternal plan. The Psalms also portray animals as participants in creation's praise. Psalm 148 verses 7 to 10 calls on sea creatures, wild animals, and flying birds to join in worshiping God. This imagery reinforces the idea that animals are not merely bystanders but active contributors to the glorification of their Creator. It supports the belief that they may continue this role in the eternal kingdom. Some theologians interpret these passages metaphorically, seeing the peaceful coexistence of animals as symbolic of spiritual harmony. Others take a more literal approach, viewing these descriptions as a promise of physical restoration. Regardless of interpretation, the consistent inclusion of animals in prophetic visions points to their significance in God's future plans. The vision of animals in heaven also reflects God's character as a restorer. Revelation 21 verse 5 proclaims, "I am making everything new," suggesting a comprehensive renewal of creation. This includes not only humanity but all aspects of the natural world. The presence of animals in this renewal aligns with God's original declaration that his creation was very good, Genesis 1 verse 31. Historically, theologians like John Wesley and Martin Luther have supported the idea of animals in eternity. Wesley argued that animals would be part of God's restorative work, emphasizing their role in his original creation. Luther similarly believed that God's love for creation included animals, making it conceivable that they would share in the restoration. Their perspectives add weight to the hope of animals' inclusion in heaven. The peace depicted in prophetic visions also invites reflection on the relationship between humans and animals. Isaiah's imagery not only highlights the transformation of animals but also suggests a restored harmony between humanity and nature. This restoration fulfills the original design of the Garden of Eden, where humans and animals coexisted peacefully under God's care. Ultimately, the presence of animals in heaven points to God's overarching plan for redemption. Their inclusion in these visions reflects his intention to restore all things to their rightful place. Whether taken literally or symbolically, the portrayal of animals in heaven encourages believers to anticipate a future where creation is fully renewed, reflecting God's glory in perfect harmony. The fate of animal souls. The question of whether animals have souls and their destiny after death has intrigued theologians and believers for centuries. Genesis 2 verse 7 describes how God breathed life into Adam, and a similar phrase, breath of life, is used for animals in Genesis 1 verse 30. This connection suggests that animals, like humans, are living beings endowed with God's life-giving spirit. However, their souls differ from human souls, which are uniquely created in God's image. Humans are described as bearing the imago Dei, image of God, a distinction that sets them apart from animals. Ecclesiastes 3 verse 21 raises a profound question. Who knows if the human spirit rises upward and if the spirit of the animal goes down into the earth? While this verse highlights the mysteries surrounding the fate of animal souls, it also acknowledges their spiritual nature. The Bible does not explicitly state whether animals possess eternal souls, leaving the matter open to interpretation. The Hebrew term nephesh, often translated as soul or living being, is used for both humans and animals in the Old Testament. This suggests a shared vitality and connection to God as the source of life. However, human souls are uniquely eternal, reflecting God's eternal nature. Animals, on the other hand, may have souls that are temporal, designed to fulfill their purpose within creation. Some theologians propose that animals could experience eternity through their relationship with humans. C.S. Lewis, in The Problem of Pain, speculated that animals might be brought into heaven through their bond with humans who love and care for them. This idea underscores the role of humans as stewards and reflects God's grace, extending beyond humanity to encompass all creation. The Bible frequently emphasizes the transient nature of life, comparing it to a mist that vanishes, James 4 verse 14. While this applies to human mortality, it raises questions about the temporal or eternal nature of animal existence. Psalm 49 verse 12 states, "People, despite their wealth, do not endure. They are like the beasts that perish." This verse suggests a shared mortality, but it does not negate the possibility of future restoration. Paul's discussion in Romans 8 verses 19 to 21 provides hope for the redemption of all creation. He describes how creation eagerly awaits the revealing of the children of God, longing to be set free from corruption. If animals are part of creation's groaning, their liberation could signify their inclusion in God's redemptive plan. This idea offers a hopeful perspective on their destiny, rooted in God's overarching plan for renewal. The distinction between human and animal souls does not diminish the value of animals in God's eyes. Matthew 10 verse 29 reminds us that not even a sparrow falls to the ground without the Father's knowledge. This level of care implies that animals hold a unique place in God's heart, even if their eternal destiny differs from that of humans. Another perspective comes from Revelation 21 verse 1, which describes a new heaven and a new earth. If God intends to restore creation to its original perfection, animals may have a place in this renewed world. Their presence would reflect the harmony of Eden, where humans and animals lived in peace under God's care. Church history provides varying interpretations of animal souls. Thomas Aquinas argued that animal souls are not eternal, as they lack the rational and spiritual capacities of humans. However, John Wesley believed that animals would be included in the restoration of all creation, aligning with Paul's vision in Romans. These differing views reflect the complexity and richness of theological discourse on this topic. Ultimately, the fate of animal souls remains a divine mystery. While the Bible does not offer definitive answers, it consistently portrays God as a loving and just creator. Whether animals share in eternity or not, believers can trust in His perfect plan for all His creation. This trust invites us to care for animals with compassion, honoring their place in God's world. The New Jerusalem and the renewal of creation. The New Jerusalem, described in Revelation 21, represents the culmination of God's redemptive plan, a place of restored harmony and eternal joy. This renewed creation is depicted as a city descending from heaven, where God dwells with His people. Revelation 21 verse 4 paints a beautiful picture of this eternal home. He will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. This vision extends hope not only to humanity but to all of creation. In this new heaven and new earth, creation itself is transformed. Isaiah 65 verse 17 declares, "See, I will create new heavens and a new earth. The former things will not be remembered, nor will they come to mind." This prophecy speaks of a complete renewal, where every aspect of existence is perfected. Animals, as part of the original creation, are often considered within this scope of renewal, reflecting God's original design in Eden. The presence of animals in the New Jerusalem is implied in passages that describe harmony between all creatures. Isaiah 11 verses 6 to 9 envisions a world where natural predators and prey coexist peacefully. This imagery symbolizes not only restored relationships among animals, but also the reconciliation between humanity and the rest of creation. The lion eating straw like the ox and children playing near serpents indicate a restoration of the order lost in Eden. Jesus spoke of preparing a place for His followers in John 14 verse 2, saying, "My Father's house has many rooms." While this statement refers primarily to the eternal home for believers, it also raises questions about the nature of this place. A renewed creation, including animals, aligns with the biblical vision of a complete and perfect dwelling. It emphasizes that God's plan is comprehensive, encompassing all aspects of His creation. The idea of a renewed creation is also supported by Paul's writings in Romans 8 verses 19 to 21. He describes how creation eagerly awaits liberation from its bondage to decay, sharing in the glorious freedom of the children of God. This passage suggests that the renewal of creation includes more than just humanity. It is a cosmic restoration. Animals, as part of creation, could share in this liberation, reflecting the fullness of God's redemptive work. The New Jerusalem is not merely a spiritual concept but a physical reality. Revelation 21 verses 1 to 2 describes it as a tangible place where heaven and earth converge. This physicality implies that the renewed creation will include familiar elements of the natural world, possibly including animals. Their presence would demonstrate the completeness of God's restoration and the return to His original design in Genesis. The concept of shalom, often translated as peace, encapsulates the vision of the New Jerusalem. This peace is not merely the absence of conflict, but a state of flourishing and harmony for all of creation. Micah 4 verse 4 illustrates this peace. Everyone will sit under their own vine and under their own fig tree, and no one will make them afraid. Such imagery suggests a future where humanity, animals, and nature coexist in perfect balance. Historical theologians like John Wesley and Martin Luther viewed the renewal of creation as extending to all living beings. Wesley, in particular, believed that animals, as victims of human sin, would be included in the restoration of the new earth. This perspective aligns with the broader biblical narrative of a God who redeems and restores all things. The New Jerusalem also emphasizes the fulfillment of God's promises. Revelation 22 verse 3 states, "No longer will there be any curse." This indicates the reversal of the fall's effects, including the broken relationships between humans, animals, and the environment. It suggests that the restoration will bring a return to the peace and harmony of Eden, where all of creation thrived under God's care. Ultimately, the vision of the New Jerusalem invites believers to anticipate a future of complete restoration. It assures us that God's redemptive plan is all-encompassing, reaching every corner of His creation. Whether animals will share this eternity in the same way humans do remains a mystery, but the hope of a renewed creation fills us with awe and trust in God's perfect plan. Theological reflections on the role of animals in eternity. The role of animals in eternity has been a subject of theological debate and reflection throughout history. While the Bible offers glimpses of their presence in prophetic visions, it does not explicitly state their eternal fate. This ambiguity invites thoughtful exploration, considering God's character as a loving creator and redeemer. If animals were part of God's original very good creation, Genesis 1 verse 31, it is reasonable to ponder their place in His eternal kingdom. One theological perspective emphasizes the restorative nature of God's plan. Romans 8 verses 19 to 21 speaks of all creation groaning for liberation from decay. This passage suggests that the scope of redemption extends beyond humanity, encompassing the entirety of creation. If animals are part of this creation, their inclusion in God's restoration aligns with His desire to make all things new, Revelation 21 verse 5. Another reflection considers the nature of animals as living beings dependent on God. Psalm 104 verses 27 to 30 describes how God provides for all creatures and sustains their lives. This passage highlights their reliance on God's care, emphasizing their role in His creation. If God values and sustains animals in this life, it is possible that they may continue to reflect His glory in eternity. The image of animals in eternity also points to the peace and harmony of God's kingdom. Isaiah 11 verses 6 to 9 and Isaiah 65 verse 25 describe a future where natural predators and prey coexist in harmony. These passages symbolize the reconciliation of all relationships, including those between humans and animals. This vision reflects the restoration of the Edenic peace lost after the fall, where humanity and animals lived in harmony under God's care. The role of animals in eternity may also reveal God's desire for completeness. John Wesley believed that God's restorative plan would encompass all aspects of creation, including animals. He argued that animals, having suffered the effects of sin, would share in the renewal of the new earth. This view emphasizes the comprehensiveness of God's redemption, highlighting His care for even the smallest aspects of creation. C.S. Lewis offered another perspective, suggesting that animals might enter eternity through their relationship with humans. In The Problem of Pain, he speculated that domesticated animals could be drawn into heaven by their connection to humans who reflect God's love. This idea underscores the role of humans as stewards and emphasizes the interconnectedness of all life in God's plan. Theological reflections on animals in eternity also invite questions about their spiritual nature. While humans are uniquely created in the image of God and possess eternal souls, animals are described as having the breath of life, Genesis 1 verse 30. This shared vitality suggests a spiritual connection to God, even if it differs from the human soul. Their role in eternity could therefore be tied to their purpose within God's broader creation. Historically, theologians like Thomas Aquinas and Martin Luther have contributed to this discussion. Aquinas viewed animals as lacking eternal souls, focusing on their earthly purpose. Luther, however, believed that animals could be part of God's renewal, reflecting His love for all creation. These differing views illustrate the diversity of thought within Christian theology, leaving room for interpretation and hope. The presence of animals in eternity may also serve as a reminder of God's glory. Revelation 5 verse 13 describes a heavenly scene where every creature worships God. This image reinforces the idea that animals are part of creation's praise, glorifying their Creator. Their inclusion in this scene of worship hints at their ongoing role in reflecting God's majesty and goodness. Ultimately, the theological reflections on animals in eternity remind believers of God's sovereignty and goodness. While the Bible does not provide definitive answers, it consistently portrays a God who values and cares for all He has made. This assurance invites believers to trust in His perfect plan, celebrating the hope of a restored creation where His love and glory are fully revealed. The restoration of all creation. The Bible consistently portrays God as a restorer, bringing wholeness to a broken creation. Romans 8 verses 19 to 21 powerfully illustrates this truth, stating that all creation eagerly awaits liberation from its bondage to decay. Paul's words emphasize that the restoration of humanity is intrinsically linked to the renewal of all creation. This cosmic restoration suggests that animals, as part of creation, may also share in this liberation, reflecting God's desire to redeem every aspect of His work. From the beginning, God's creation was declared very good, Genesis 1 verse 31. The harmony of Eden, where humans and animals coexisted peacefully, represents the ideal state of God's design. The fall disrupted this balance, introducing sin, suffering, and death. However, the Bible's redemptive narrative points toward a future where this harmony is restored, fulfilling God's original intention for creation. The prophetic visions of Isaiah further highlight this restoration. Isaiah 11 verses 6 to 9 portrays a world where predators and prey live together in peace, a direct reversal of the post-fall order. This imagery symbolizes the eradication of hostility and the establishment of perfect harmony. Such passages inspire hope that God's restorative work will include animals, bringing them into the renewed heavens and earth. Revelation 21 verse 5 declares, "I am making everything new." This comprehensive statement encompasses all of creation, promising a future free from decay and corruption. The inclusion of animals in this restoration aligns with God's character as a loving and just Creator. If His plan is to make all things new, animals, integral to His original creation, are likely part of this renewal. The restoration of creation also involves the healing of the human-animal relationship. Genesis 9 verses 2 to 3 describes the fear and dread animals would have of humans after the flood, marking a shift from the peace of Eden. In the new creation, this fear will be replaced by trust and harmony, reflecting the reconciliation of all relationships under God's rule. The New Testament frequently speaks of Christ's role in redeeming all things. Colossians 1 verse 20 states that through Christ, God reconciles all things, whether things on earth or things in heaven. This universal reconciliation includes the physical world, pointing to a future where the effects of sin are fully reversed. Animals, as part of this earthly creation, are thus woven into the tapestry of God's redemptive plan. The restoration of creation also serves as a testimony to God's glory. Psalm 148 calls on all creatures, wild animals, birds, and sea creatures, to praise the Lord. This universal call to worship reflects God's intention for every part of creation to glorify Him. In eternity, this worship will reach its fullness, with a restored creation proclaiming His majesty. Historical Christian thinkers have often embraced the idea of a comprehensive restoration. John Wesley believed that animals, having suffered under human sin, would be included in the new creation. He viewed their inclusion as a reflection of God's justice and mercy, ensuring that no part of creation remains untouched by His redemption. Wesley's perspective aligns with the broader biblical narrative of a God who cares deeply for all He has made. The restoration of creation is not only a future promise but also a present call to action. As stewards of God's creation, believers are invited to care for animals and the environment, reflecting the principles of His coming kingdom. Acts of stewardship today become acts of worship, anticipating the ultimate restoration of all things. Ultimately, the promise of creation's restoration invites believers to trust in God's perfect plan. While the specifics of how animals fit into this renewal remain a mystery, the overarching narrative of redemption assures us that nothing is beyond God's reach. This hope encourages believers to look forward to a future where all creation is healed, united in perfect harmony under the reign of God. The Bible's vision of restoration and renewal is a powerful reminder that God's plan encompasses all of creation. Though we may not have all the answers about the fate of animals in eternity, we can trust in His perfect love and justice. This hope invites us to reflect His care in our daily lives, treating animals and the environment with the compassion and stewardship they deserve. How will you respond to this calling? Will you embrace your role as a caretaker of God's creation and partner with Him in reflecting His glory? If this journey has inspired you, take a moment to reflect, act, and share this hope with others, ready to dive deeper into God's plan for creation. Subscribe now, hit the notification bell, and stay connected for more inspiring discussions about faith, hope, and eternity.